Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cabinet this evening. My name is Councillor Anne Doreen. I'm the Leader of the Council and Chairman of the Cabinet. And to my left is Councillor Dale Broughton. He's the Deputy Leader of the Council and Vice Chairman of Cabinet. Before we start, I would just like to take this opportunity to wish all our residents and our officers a very Merry Christmas and a healthy and happy New Year when that comes. Now, we'll move to part one of the agenda and we'll start with the preliminaries. Do we have any apologies for absence?
We have received apologies from Councillor Sharp. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have apologies for lateness from Councillor Creswell, who's stuck at a parents' evening at the moment. Now, do we have any declarations of interest? Does any member wish to declare any interest in respect of any agenda item? That's a no. Do I have permission to sign the minutes of the meeting which we held on the 25th of September? Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the public which will receive 2 clear working days prior to the meeting?
Apologies, Madam Chair. There is another meeting to be signed, the minutes of the meeting for the 31st.
31st of October, you're right. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you.
Do I have your permission to sign the minutes from the meeting on the 31st of October? Thank you. And back to questions. Are there any questions from members of the public?
There are none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move to part 2 of the agenda items. Are there any recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for this meeting?
There are none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Are there any recommendations from the Boston Town Area Committee?
There are none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now on to item number 3, Quarter 2 Finance. That's on page 197 to 226 of your agenda pack. Councillor Ghosh, would you like to present and propose the recommendations?
Thank you, Chair. As members are aware, throughout the year, quarterly monitoring reports are completed, forecasting the expected year and outturn compared to the approved budget. This report provides information on the forecast full year financial performance as at 30th of September 24. I would make a general comment before I commence a more detailed summary of the report that this year, like recent years, will be challenging with the downturn in the economy impacting on our income levels for areas such as planning income. This is, however, being offset by higher than anticipated investment income due to interest rate levels and interested cash balances. The IDB pressure continues to be of concern and lobbying on this matter continues, as you are aware. The revenue outturn forecasts a surplus position of 202,000 at the year end. Some key issues I would like to bring to the Cabinet Board attention are as follows. Planning is forecasting a further reduction in planning fee income at quarter 2 of £37,000, resulting in a total income underperformance of £94,000, which represents 37% of the total income underperformance at quarter 2 and reflect the condition of the housing market. Cremation income is underperforming again by the further £53,000 at quarter 2, resulting in a total underperformance of £92,000. Building control is now forecasting back to budget following on from projected income underperformance in quarter 1. The Princess Royal Sports Arena new lease arrangements has resulted in a loss of income of £75,000, offset by utility cost savings, net effect £2,500. Hackney carriage licenses have reported an income overperformance of £12,000 at quarter 2, which has been taken towards the efficiencies target. The Council's 24-25 net budget for investment income is 1.587 million. The forecasted full year outturn for investment income is 1.945 million, contributing to an overachievement of £359,000 for 24-25. Another area of detail in this report is table 4. Illustrating additions to the revenue budget as the year progresses through decisions, notices, and delegated decisions. As member will be aware, the 24-25 budget includes a savings efficiency target of £846,000. Savings are being tracked and can be found in Table 2. For both the general and IDB savings requirements, the total saving crystallized to date is £656,000 against the target of £846,000, being 78% at Q2. That's good. This is very positive and work is ongoing. For the capital, Table 5 provides details of off-capital schemes. The proposed revised capital budget as at Q2 for the general fund is £52.724 million. Slippage continues to be carefully monitored and considered and budgets refined as we progress through the financial year. Treasury, with regards to treasury management, the council's cash continues to perform well with £359,000 forecast to be achieved in excess of the budget. I therefore propose that Cabinet approves the recommendation as set out in the report, and the recommendations are that Cabinet notes the forecast revenue position of £202,000 underspent for 24-25 as detailed in Table 1, and the need for continued focus on the savings and efficiency program. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ghosh. You have a seconder? Councillor Baxter, second. I will now open the floor to questions or comments. Thank you. Councillor Baxter.
Yeah, just some comments really. Really good to see as well we forecast an underspend. So but my comments sort of hinge around my lack of knowledge when it comes to finance procedures. So, for example, page 204, under finance, it mentions things like because of the variance, it has to do with external audit charges, bank charges increased, and also additional cost of housing benefits. So what I was going to ask is, when it comes to the budget, we can't forecast those things happening. So they're unexpected changes that we couldn't forecast. Would that be the case? Please.
Who wants to take that?
You, Chairman. Yes, indeed. Sometimes there are things that are not known when we set the budget, and certainly in terms of the external audit fees, there has been a higher than expected increase. So that's happened nationally. It's not just ourselves that have been caught by that. Most authorities have been caught by increasing the PSAA contract charges.
Okay, thank you. The other comment, I know we keep talking about planning charges, which is one of my service areas, and the cremation income. In a way, we can't really control those, can we? We can't control people building lots of houses. We can't control the number of people who decide to use the crematorium. So my point is, mid-term, can we adjust the budget? Not the budget, the budget. I've got a new set of teeth in. Yeah, so mid-term, after 6 months, can we adjust the budget?
So we've not adjusted the budget. We're showing the variance at this point, but I can confirm that as part of the budget setting for next year, some of those budgets will be adjusted downwards as a result.
Okay, so that will benefit when we look at the results and everything at the end of the year. It won't show, it won't look as bad as probably.
Because we've already forecast.
Okay, thank you. Next one, page 212. It's good that we're getting lots of additional income. I know as I've talked to various people, we've talked about, well, getting extra income from, well, being more commercial in the services we offer. I know building control have took on some more admin work and got more income. So is that something that our service, our ADs and within the service areas, do we look at that still, please?
Yes, they're absolutely actively looking at that at the moment.
And last but not least, when it comes to debt collection, I used to be a debt collector. I think it was because of the size of myself. But anyway, page 225, when we look at the debt collection, do we ever consider outsourcing debt collection, or is that all done in-house then, please?
And we use a variety of methods of debt collection. Obviously, the normal first step would be internal resources, but we do use external resources and lawyers to support us should we need to go through the courts.
Okay, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. Councillor Ghosh, you want to come back on one of those
Yes,
points?
all 4 questions, one answer. There are a couple of areas which is variable income, like housing, planning, crematorium. These are variable income. So you can, guesstimate on the basis of the previous year's data. But again, I always encourage the officers to try to be near to estimate what exactly, should be. So it all depends upon how we find out using the previous year's historical data. So it's always been encouraged. Even the parking income, you can estimate, but you cannot be accurate that it's definitely going to be that much. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ghosh. Councillor Butler, Callum.
Thank you, Chair. I think we seem to talk about this every meeting. The cremation income underperforming. Are we noticing a reduction in people using the crematorium in Boston, or are there other factors at play with that, please?
It's to do with the type of cremation that's being purchased. So there's been an increase in direct cremations, which are cheaper. So there are different sorts of cremations you can purchase from the crematorium, and it's that that's driving, not a reduction in numbers, it's the type of cremation that's being purchased.
Any more questions? I'll comment though. I just wanted to ask about the table on page 211 and 212, which talks about our pro forma Bs. I know that's something you're really passionate about, Councillor Ghosh, in mitigating the number of pro forma Bs that we get through, because we're dipping into various reserve funds all the time. And whilst it's not obscenely large amounts of money in the big scheme of things, little by little, we are dripping money out of these reserve funds. How are you feeling about this now? Is this something that you're thinking it is coming down? Is it getting worse? Are staff open to budgeting in a tighter way, identifying risks in a more timely way so that they're not having to issue pro forma Bs?
Thank you, Chair, for that question. Indeed, pro forma B is something which is definitely not encourageable. That tells the non-planning activities which should not be definitely not agreed. And I definitely don't accept that. So this financial year, we have already done the budget, and we have some data now in front of us. It's nearly £450,000, which is coming under pro forma B. That's been already informed to all the directorates. So as I mentioned just now, answering Councillor Baxter's question, the planning and the budgeting from their directorates should be as proper as possible, because many things you cannot really pre-plan. That's understandable, but definitely not £450,000. That's a huge amount. That tells that we really need to work on more planning side of things and budgeting side of things for all the directorates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ghosh. So I'd just like to take the opportunity then to extend support from Cabinet to Councillor Ghosh in this regard. And is that something, Christine, you could pass on through your budget meetings with your budget managers, that Cabinet would like to see this forecast in a much more accurate way? We fully expect and understand that there will be things that you can't plan for, but as Councillor Ghosh says, nearly £500,000, I didn't realise it was that high, is something that we don't want to continue.
Absolutely, I can confirm that I've been emphasising with budget holders the need to plan ahead. Obviously, there will be things that crop up in 25, 26 that can't be foreseen. But for those that can be foreseen, let's make sure they're in the revenue budget, in the capital project budget, or have been suitably accommodated.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And congratulations to all the finance team. Thank you for all your hard work, because I know that doing this across 3 councils is no easy task. And thank you for your good work, Councillor Ghosh. I know you put a lot of time and effort into this. Well done. So the recommendations have been moved and seconded. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the Local Council Tax Support Scheme 25-26, and that's on page 11 to page 36 of your agenda pack. And Councillor Ghosh, still you, would you like to present and propose the recommendations, please?
Thank you, Chair. I have a lot of talking to me. I won't go through all of the modification options again. These were presented to Cabinet in September and are provided again in summary at point 2.1 in the report. As required by legislation, consultation has taken place with major preceptors, the general public and other stakeholders between 26 September and 15 November. These report provides the results of the consultation and is brought back for Cabinet to debate and determine its final 25-26 scheme recommendations to full council. About the consultation results, 89 responses were received along with responses from LCC and PCC. Section 3.2 in the report provides a summary of the LCC and PCC responses, in particular noting that LCC supports the move to modernize and simplify the scheme, but does not support the change to vary the level of support, citing ongoing government funding to support the vulnerable and the effect on its budget for spending on its services. Section 3.5 provides a table of the public and stakeholder consultation results for each of the modification options. The full consultation report is at Appendix 2. Key observations from this feedback are: there wasn't a clear-cut view on the proposal to increase the level of support, with 47.2% agreeing and 44.9% disagreeing. The majority of the responses, 51.7%, did not agree with the proposal to reduce the upper capital limit from £16,000, with only 37.1% agreeing. The other proposals were generally supported. The Corporate and the Communities Committee also considered the proposal at its meeting on 14th of October 2024. They were encouraged by the proposals and supportive of the proposed increase to 100% for households with children and 85% for others. In the event of a final decision to reduce the capital limit, they considered it should be £10,000. The full draft minutes from this meeting are shown at Appendix 1. The Council's legal manager has advised that under the principles of consultation, members are required to approach the consultation responses with a receptive mind and give conscientious consideration to the outcome of the consultation as part of their decision making. This means that members must show they look the consultation responses into account so that the results of the consultation inform their decision. Members can evidence this through their questions and debate. If members require any further information, they should proactively seek it before making their decision. There is no duty to adopt the views of the consultees, but members cannot make a decision that is fundamentally different to that which they have consulted on. The recommendation in the report require Cabinet to determine which or all of the modification options it wishes to include in the 25-26 scheme and to recommend these to full council. Points for Cabinet considerations. The indicative cost of the combined proposals is estimated to be an increase in expenditure of around £384,000, of which the cost to BBC would be around 10.3%, which is nearly £40,000, with 75.21%, which is £289,000, and 14.49%, which is £56,000 cost to LCC and PCC respectively. That the estimated overall increase is the net effect of all the consulted modification options combined, with the increase in support providing some offset against the other options where there will be losers as well as gainers. The introduction of an exceptional hardship fund would not be a part of the CTS scheme, and as a discretionary policy, the full cost will be borne by BBC. If Cabinet wishes to proceed with this option, a budget provision would need to be factored into 25-26 budget setting process. Details of the scheme would be developed if this is decided. It should be noted that the indicative cost increase does not include increased costs for 25-26 council tax increases, DWP operating, or increased take-up. This leads me to the recommendations, which is recommendation 1, ask Cabinet to determine whether to revise its scheme with any or all of the modification options to include in 25-26, or whether it wishes to retain the current scheme operated. The recommendation to ask Cabinet to recommend its decision to full council for approval. Recommendation 3 seeks Cabinet delegation to S151 in consultation with the portfolio holder to agree the final scheme policy. Recommendation 4 seeks a separate decision from Cabinet in terms of introducing an exceptional hardship fund. This is a Cabinet decision. And recommendation 5 asks Cabinet to delegate the decision on the fund and scheme details to 151 in consultation with the portfolio holder. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ghosh. So I think I'll start, if you don't mind, so that we can open the debate. And we've got a number of recommendations in front of us that we need to choose either or. I have read the consultation responses in some detail, and I'm very grateful to those members of our community who took the time to make a response. I'm disappointed in the number, and I think we have to take responsibility for some of that, or if not all of that. We need to find a way to reach our residents in a meaningful way, so that we have far more people making a response, because that would give far more weight to what people say. But I am minded to recommend that we increase the council tax support scheme to households with children to 100%. And I will explain why that is. This is around the 30% increase in children who live in poverty in our borough. And it's a way of supporting families, parents and children who are at their lowest ebb, and they won't always be there. Some will make it out, some are on their way up. And this is a way that we can support them and provide a safety net for them whilst they are at their lowest ebb. And it's not just about the money, and I've explained that to you as close friends before. It's about the worry that that families have in waiting for that bill to land on the doormat, waiting for that knock at the door from a bailiff or a credit agency, or not being able to get credit for a mobile phone perhaps, or something that they want to buy their child for Christmas. So it's about the worry, the stigma, and the mental health issues that accompany that. And I think this is a small thing that we can do to show our poorest residents that we really care. Now, will there be people that abuse that? Yes, there will. There always will. And they're the people that will be talked about on Facebook, on social media. Oh, but they smoke. Oh, but they drink. Oh, but they get taxis everywhere. Oh, but they go out every weekend. There'll always be those people that spoil it for everyone else, or that abuse a system that's there to protect the most vulnerable. And I think they are terrible people that do that, because the benefit system's there to support people in their hour of need. But I'm willing to take that chance. And so I would move the recommendation that we increase the maximum council tax support to household with children to 100%, that we keep recommendation B, we keep recommendation C, D, and recommendation E, we reduce the upper capital limit to £10,000. We keep recommendation F. Recommendation I, £30 per week. Keep recommendation G. And just to bear in mind that we are recommending this to full council. We are not making the decision tonight. We are making a recommendation to our peers, and full council will have a free vote on this paper. And then we keep recommendations 2, 3 and 4. We introduce an exceptional hardship fund. And subject to that, we keep recommendation 5, that we delegate that decision then on the amount and how it's administered to our Section 151 officer in consultation with Councillor Ghosh as a portfolio holder for finance. So having considered all the evidence and the debate that we've had informally, those are my recommendations, and I'd look for a seconder. Seconded, Councillor Baxter, sorry. Oh, sorry, yes, thank you for keeping me right, Chief Exec. Yes, keeping in the 100% council tax relief for households with children and uprating to 85% from 75% for all other households. Thank you. Yeah. And you're willing to second that, Councillor Baxter? Yeah, thank you. So would anyone else like to comment or ask questions? Take you, Councillor Butler, Callum, then Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. I fully support the fact that we should be helping the most vulnerable residents in our community, 100%. My concern is, can we afford this? I can see we can afford it now, but can we afford it going forward rather? My concern is that we give it this year and in 2 years' time, for example, we have to rein back in on it. And I don't think, you know, you give in one hand and then end up taking, and I don't feel comfortable with that to a certain extent. And I can't remember what my other point was, but I'm sure it'll come back to me. Thank you.
You can speak again if it comes back to you, but thank you for sharing that. Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree totally with Councillor Dorian's comments. We seem to have obviously gone over this quite a few times with various people, which shows how seriously we take it. As I went through the documents, we probably haven't mentioned the fact that it's estimated many families would save around £300 extra a year. That's a lot of extra shoes for children and paying bills and everything. And also probably we haven't emphasised as well, we've talked about the savings of the scheme. So in effect, there's lots of admin charges as well, invisible charges that we will save upon. Most of all, as well, the fact that, I mean, I've worked on council tax. Sometimes 20 bills went out that landed on a doorstep and were hard to follow. So this is something I strongly agree with the recommendations. I was going to mention though something that concerns me, that the thing about the Lincolnshire County Council on page 15. What they're saying is that, well, they agree with funding support anyone who's vulnerable, and that the proposed change to the scheme would reduce the income LCC receives, which in turn reduces the available budget for spending on its services. So we only put 10% towards this, but obviously other organisations do that. I was going to ask, is there any legal basis then where the county council, they can't refuse the money that we bid for if we implement this this new council tax scheme? So do they have any legal sort of basis on saying, well, we're going to take it away from highways or take it away from education?
I would like the Chief Exec to answer that. I'm not entirely sure about the legality issue, which is what you asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Baxter. So first of all, the Council Tax Support Scheme is a decision for the Borough Council to make. But clearly that does have an impact on the upper tier authority as well. They will be going through exactly the same process as we are at the moment in terms of prioritising where they would like to see their spend, what fees they're interested in setting. And that happens every year. So, I mean, I think for now you can proceed with confidence that if you want to proceed with the kind of proposal that's been put forward by Councillor Dorian, and when we come to the decision at council in January, we would hope, I think, to be a bit further on in terms of our understanding of your overall budget. But if you see this as a priority, support it.
Okay, well, I see it as a priority, and we would leave the county council to decide on their budgets. The other thing I was going to mention, I raised this a while ago, that this is a new scheme, so it starts, I think, from April 2025. There are no transitional arrangements. So, in effect, what concerns me, but I think there's only a small number. If we alter the upper capital limit, obviously it could affect some people, but I was pleased the research that's been done, and I thank the officers and Councillor Ghost for doing this, that would only affect 12 people. So that is minimal, really. The other thing I was going to mention, when we talk about the cost of it, we bear 10.3%. So on page 17, can I just ask, compared to how much it costs this year, if we implement the recommendations, does it mean, well, under financial page 17, that we have to pay another 39.5 extra, or does it cost us 39.5, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the figure 39.5 is actually the cost to the Boston Borough Council.
So how much does it cost us now then, Councillor Ghosh? Do we know how much it costs us now? So that we know, if in case any residents ask or whatever at full council, what a percentage extra is it costing us, please?
Yeah. Sharon?
Yeah, sorry, I don't have the current figures. It will be the 10.3% of the total amount that is currently, I've got a feel it's about 4-point-something million pounds. So it's 10.3% cost to Boston Council of around £4 million. And this will increase it by a further 39,500 to Boston.
Thank you. I think most of all, what we have to bear in mind is that in our borough, we have lots of people, deprivation and child poverty. So I think this would be a way that our council, can help those people at this time when there are many different economic problems. So thank you.
Yeah, I think you raise a valid point around the response from Lincolnshire County Council. Will they withhold money in other ways, I think, is what you were saying. And this is where it becomes really important when people vote and who they vote for, because historically Boston has suffered greatly under the Conservatives at county. And we have certainly not seen our fair share of funding in any avenue that the county is responsible for. So, and we do know that some politicians wreak havoc in terms of personality politics and revenge and getting back at people. And so it's very important then that people are mindful of where they're putting the cross when it comes to elections. Because I think our administration can stand on our record and say that we've done as much as we humanly could for our residents. And given half a chance, Boston Independents will do the same at county come the elections in May 2025. So thank you, Councillor Baxter. Councillor Broughton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm, along with yourself, very disappointed with the numbers answering the consultation. And it's not just on this consultation, it's on ones we've had in the past as well. The numbers are very little. I'm just wondering if we need to look at further methods going forward on when we put consultations out for residents to reply to them. Also, I just want to say, growing up, I've been one of them children who's obviously parents have done everything they can, and there's still worry, the stress, the anxiety it brings of not being able to look at an envelope dropping on the doorstep thinking, how are we going to pay that? And I know many residents in my ward itself, as well as in the town, also suffer that. So I'm 100% behind this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Broughton. Did you want to speak, Councillor Ghosh?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, as the Cabinet know, I'm not fully support of this one. Just the reason is I hold the finance portfolio and I have to go with facts and figures. And the figures say 50% of the pupils are not agreeing to this 100% increase. Also, if I go back and check the budgetary thing where we are lacking, IDB cost increase from 42 million when we started discussing about it to 50+ million now in totality. There are certain grants which MHCLG will cancel in future. That's a risk. The interest rate, I got an information from my personal friend. The Bank of England had going to reduce the interest rate. So that will be further less income. And this 40,000, which if we agree on this, will actually increase in future rather decrease. So in that totality, I have a very limited room to be emotional about this. I'll go with facts and figures, and that's the reason I suggested for 90%, which will cost the council £9,000 compared to £40,000, which is a huge difference. So yeah, that's what I want to say. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Goshen. I'd just like to welcome Councillor Creswell to the meeting. Thank you for getting here. Can I just take a ruling, please? Is Councillor Creswell permitted to vote on this item, being as she hasn't been here for the whole item? I'm not sure of the rules. Yes, she's.
So that will be a personal decision for Councillor Creswell. In terms of advice, it's whether you feel sufficiently informed on the discussion that's taken place and whether you've had a chance to digest the papers. I'd suggest at a very minimum, if you were to repeat the recommendation that's been read out.
Okay, so we're on the council tax support scheme, and the recommendations that I proposed and had seconded are on page 11, and it was to recommend to full council that we revise the support scheme to increase the maximum to households with children to 100% and 85% for other households, to keep recommendations B, C, D as they are, E to reduce the upper capital limit to 10,000, to keep F as it is, I at £30 per week, keep G, and then recommendation number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So it's been proposed and seconded. Everybody's finished speaking. We'll go to the vote then. All those in favour? That's 4. All those against? That's 2. So that is carried. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Sharon in particular for all the work, because I know that you did an enormous amount of research and you captured a huge amount of data that we asked for so that we could really examine this in fine detail. So thank you for that extra work, Sharon. Appreciate it. Okay, we're on to item 5. Now, do you want a minute settling and I'll take performance and risk, or do you want, because it's you next? Is she customer? Yeah. Not you. Yeah, I'm mixing you up with customer. Yeah. So the next item is the customer feedback policy, which starts on page 37 of the agenda pack. Councillor Creswell, would you like to present and propose your recommendations?
Okay, thank you very much. And again, thank you for accommodating me arriving slightly late. So I'm here to present a draft customer feedback policy for Boston Borough Council and to seek approval from the Cabinet. There is a dear and clear need to manage feedback and complaints received by the Council and deal with them appropriately. The policy is designed to achieve that aim while ensuring that customers are dealt with fairly, consistently and proportionally. This draft policy, which starts at page 43, Appendix 1 of the agenda, I just need to make sure that that's the right up-to-date page. That is, yep. Of the agenda has been fully reviewed, updated and aligned across the partnership. Reviewing the policy ensures any updates are captured, as well as ensuring the policy is still fit for purpose and complies with the LGSCOs, which is the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman Complaint Handling Code, which was launched this year in 2024. The recommendations that are on page 37 of the pack are that the Cabinet approves the draft customer feedback policy at Appendix 1, that the Cabinet authorises the monitoring officer to make amendments to the policy to ensure it remains up to date and reflects complaint handling code guidance and recommendations issued by the Ombudsman. This policy, found at page 43 of the agenda pack, is being aligned to be the same across all of our 3 councils in the South and East Lincolnshire Partnership. It gives the council a framework to implement and take appropriate actions when dealing with complaints that are brought to us. It also clearly identifies on page 44 what is, and more importantly, what is not a complaint, as well as steps that will be taken for us to address those, which is on page 48. Paragraph 2.3 to 2.6 on page 38, I believe, of the covering report set out what the policy covers and the key changes from our current version of the policy. Appendix 2, which starts on page 53, is a complaint journey I really like it, and I thank the officers a lot for that. It's a flow chart and it shows how complaints are dealt with at each stage and depending on circumstances. I think it makes it really clear for us and for our residents. Adopting this policy will ensure the council complies with the requirements of the code, and in doing so will support the council to use the data and learning from complaints to drive our service improvements, which I know is at the heart of a lot of what we're doing. Following C&C, a minor amendment to the policy was recommended, which is on page 45. And that is that the words "however made" were removed from the complaint definition, just to make it really clear. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that, Creswell. And do you have a seconder? Councillor Butler, thank you. Okay, would anyone like to speak or ask a question? Councillor Baxter, then Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having been involved in customer services many years, I welcome the recommendations. Often, when somebody registers as complaint, we just get a letter back saying sorry about that. So it's good within the policy on page 50, section 11, it mentions about putting things right. But most of all, on page 51, I was pleased to see then that as a council, we look beyond the circumstances and the individual complaints, and that we consider whether service improvements can be made as a result of any learning from complaints. So, thank you for bringing this policy forward. I agree with the recommendations and thank everyone involved.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Councillor Baxter, because recently I was involved in a complaint and responding to a complainant. And actually, I think what if that complainant felt most relieved at was the fact that we said we got it wrong and we're sorry, and acknowledging that, you know, sometimes we're fallible, and that if we do something wrong, that we are big enough to admit that, acknowledge that with the complainant, and apologise. So I know the feedback I got was quite overwhelming, that complainant felt really quite moved at the fact that he'd been listened to and believed. So yeah, you make a valid point. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to come in and say that I'm really pleased to say page 46, how to get in touch. We're not going all online only, which I think is fantastic. If someone wants to make a complaint, they can do it by telephone, by writing, in person, by email. And I just think that's fantastic. That covers every single person in this borough, which is how it should be.
And Councillor Gosh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, absolutely. I support this one because when we are going for feedback and complaints policy, that tells our intention as a cabinet that how much we are towards the betterment. This is the data. AI works on data, so this can be used later on to taking decisions automatically. So I absolutely support this one.
Thank you very much. If there's no more debate or commentary, then we'll move to the vote. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? That's clearly carried. Thank you very much. The next item is the Q2 of 2024-2025 Performance and Risk Report, which starts on page 55 of the agenda pack, and that comes under my portfolio, so I will present it. These are the key performance indicators for Q2. That means the 3 months up until the end of September 2024. Performance is good overall, with the majority being green. That means we are better or we are on target. There are 2 ambers, which are just off target and expected to be back on target next quarter. Those 2 ambers relate to the occupancy rate at the industrial units. They're at 92.86% against a target of 95%. And 2 vacant units were let during the quarter, and there is interest in 1 further unit. So already that's improved since Q1, where there were 4 units unoccupied. The occupancy rate for the other investment properties, 92.55% against a target of 97%. At the end of the quarter, Garfitts Lane playing field and changing rooms had become vacant and negotiations had commenced. There are 3 reds which are off target. And these are the percentage of household waste collected for recycling and composting is 31.14% against a target of 45%. Work is continuing nationally, regionally and locally to address this. I understand from Councillor Butler that red indicator could be linked to the amount of side waste that we allow residents to leave with a green bin. And although it's going to be painful at some point, we will have to address that with our residents because recycling is extremely important. The second red, which is off target, is in relation to calls answered in the customer contact centre. These stood at 82.37% against a target of 90%. This is largely due to the volume of calls, but also the complexity. Residents call in with very layered, nuanced issues. Our callback and web chat services are actively promoted. However, they are not being used as well as we would like at this stage. And we continue to review that internally. And the third red is the number of calls that were answered in revenues and benefits. These stand at 76% against a target of 87%. This is for the same reason as customer contact. And in addition, the impact of recovery work and the removal of winter fuel payments for some customers. We have some strategic risks. The strategic and partnership risks have been thoroughly reviewed in Q2. The score for the internal communication strategic risk has reduced, but remains a medium risk overall. 2 new strategic risks have been added around the local plan and around safeguarding. 2 partnership risk scores have reduced around vision and culture, but both remain medium risks overall. 1 partnership risk we're recommending for removal, that's in relation to takeover. This was a potential risk at the outset of the partnership, but is no longer felt relevant. A new partnership risk has been identified around the relationship with PSPS and their role in supporting organisational changes. So that's my report. I will move the recommendations and look for a seconder. Councillor Ghosh, thank you very much. And invite any questions or commentary. And would you link anything you say to page numbers so we can follow what you're saying? Councillor Broughton.
Very much. It was more of an observation. On page 78, it's really good to see the number of new volunteers trained going up to 77 in the Q2. I think that has a lot to do with the new volunteer coordinator employed now by Borough Council, who's hit the ground running. And I, for one, feel this is an important role for every council to have because volunteers play such an imperative part in our community. And I, for one, truly thank everybody who volunteers to do any job, whether it's the Wombles or anything else. So that's good to see. And on page 76, the council run store occupancy level, that's dropped slightly in this quarter. But since the success of the Christmas event we've just had, with the traders having excellent sales, several have already said their intentions of potentially joining the market in the new year. So I'm very confident that these numbers will be going up.
Thank you, Councillor Broughton. I love the trusted volunteer scheme. I think you're right. The trend being so healthy is directly linked to the appointment of a coordinator and having somebody available to do that work and reach out to our community. And the benefits of volunteering are immeasurable. And I think we all recognise that amongst Cabinet. And it's something that we encourage people to do within our community. Councillor Ghosh. Did you indicate you wanted to speak? Sorry, I thought, oh, I've had a brain. Does anyone else like to speak? Okay, the recommendation's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? That's clearly carried. Thank you. Now, item 7 is the artificial intelligence policy, which starts on page 109 of the agenda pack. Councillor Ghosh, over to you again. Would you like to present and propose your recommendations?
Thank you, Chair. My interesting topic. The purpose of this report is to get feedback, sign off on the proposed AI policy from Cabinet. This is a partnership policy which has now been through scrutiny at all councils and signed off by Cabinet at South Holland and East Lindsey. thus far. The proposed AI policy aimed to provide governance for the use of AI within the council, addressing both its benefit and associated risks. The policy outlines the types of AI, their applications, and establishes mechanisms for accountability, transparency, and risk management. The policy was developed in consultation with portfolio holders, senior leadership, ICT, the monitoring officer, and the data protection team. Expected benefits of these policies are a unified AI policy across the South and East Lincolnshire Council partnership will promote consistency and efficiency as well as an understanding of AI, its benefits and risks, particularly as teams work more closely together. Future business processes outputs may be streamlined with the use of AI, delivering better service delivery underpinned by a robust common policy throughout the partnership. And the policy highlights our governance and accountability. The policy sets a framework for ethical AI use, ensuring compliance with regulatory standards and safeguarding public interest. Risk management, it addresses concerns related to privacy, bias, and security, incorporating best practices for GDPR compliance and data protection. Innovation and service delivery. By adopting a consistent AI policy, the Council aims to foster innovation while maintaining community trust and enhancing service delivery. Now, very quickly, types of AIs are artificial intelligence. As everybody knows, this is a broad concept of machines being able to carry out tasks in a way that we would consider smart, like chatbot. Machine learning, a subset of AI where machines learn from data to make predictions or decisions without being explicitly programmed. Robotics, using robots or software to automate repetitive tasks done by humans. Large language models, AI models that can be understand and generate human language based on vast amounts of text data. And IA, which is a combining AI and automation to improve processes and decision making. Deep learning is not there. Anyways, risk, our use of AI will carry inherent risks. This policy sets out that a comprehensive risk assessment should be conducted for any project or process where use of AI is proposed. The risk assessment should consider potential impacts, including a legal compliance, bias and discrimination, security and data sovereignty and protection. So recommendations is that Cabinet approves the proposed AI policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ghosh. And you have a seconder? Councillor Creswell seconds. And I'll open to any questions. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's fair to admit that I was quite apprehensive when we first discussed the AI policy. I think it's right that we have a policy because that's the way the world's moving now. And I just think back to recently O2's Granny that they've introduced to try and stop the scammers, which I think is an absolutely amazing piece of AI work. I am a bit concerned on page 122, however, 4.3, AI may make use of and generate bias, discriminatory or offensive comments. What can we do to mitigate this? Page 122, 4.3, bias and discrimination.
Well, I took it that it was going to learn from it. When it says make use of it, learn from it so that it recognises what might be discriminatory language or offensive comment. But wait, you want to come in, Councillor?
AI works on the data and it's a continuous learning process. So more the data, more accurate the decisions are. So obviously the initial days and eventually later on, it will be more trained to take better decisions.
Hang on, who's the officer for this report? Is it you, James?
Yeah.
Could you just comment then on 4.3, make use of and generate? I think it's the word generate that's maybe concerning Councillor Butler.
Yeah, I think what that's trying to highlight in the policy is that when AI is essentially harvesting information to help take decisions, and there may be information out there that is discriminatory or offensive that it picks up when it's doing those searches. So there is a risk that it does become picked up as part of what the AI processes are doing, but we would have interventions to to deal with that. So I think that's what it's trying to explain. There is that risk, but we would certainly make sure that that wasn't happening, if you like, in final produced content.
Thank you. Did you want to speak? Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chair. I was only going to jump in. I wonder if what we have is it 4.3, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
It should probably, that sentence should be continued. What's at 4.3.1 rather than being separate, because that kind of gives it the context and then answers how we'll deal with it.
Mhm. Good point. Yeah, thank you, Carl. Any more comments? Questions? No? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Clearly carried. Item number 8, the street naming and numbering policy starts on page 125 of the agenda pack. Councillor Baxter, would you like to present and propose your recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wish to introduce the report at agenda item 8, starting at page 125. As we go along, there's some abbreviations. SNN stands for Street Naming and Numbering Policy. So the purpose of this report is to introduce a partnership street naming and numbering policy. Lots of hard work has gone into this, especially by Pauline Lyne, the Group Manager in Building Control, who's joining us on Teams. And this is the report of the AD, Christian Aller. So, as a council, we have a duty to ensure that all roads in the districts are named and all properties numbered or named. So, maintaining a comprehensive and high standard for naming streets and numbering or naming properties is essential to ensure the post is delivered efficiently, facilitate emergency services finding a property without undue delay, provide consistency of property-based information across local government and national address datasets, e.g. the National Address Gazetteer and the related Ordnance Survey address-based products. Also to facilitate the reliable delivery of services and products and enable the public to find where they want to go. So this SNN function currently sits in assets at the Borough Council, but sits in regulatory, building control at our sister councils. A single partnership policy will ensure that there's a consistent approach across all 3 councils and will in due course deliver the objectives of the regulatory service review in facilitating the SNN function at Boston to allow to sit within the regulatory building control. A shared policy will also support shared working across the partnership. So, believe it or not, Boston Borough Council has never had a documentary street naming and numbering policy, although the current practices are similar to that of ELDC and SHDC. So having a policy will benefit both the users of the service and the teams in delivering the service by having a clear set of processes and procedures to follow. So Pauline and Christine and the team have worked hard on the policy, which is at the back of the report. So the recommendation is that Cabinet consider the report, policy and feedback from Corporate and Community Overview and Scrutiny Committee at the Appendix 2 and approve the South and East Lincolnshire Council's street naming and numbering policy for adoption by Boston Borough Council. Something that's been added as well is that the Group Manager, Building Control and the AD Regulatory be given delegated authority to make such amendments to this policy as may from time to time be required in order to 1. Reference any links or amended links to other documents as may be required, and 2. Reflect any issues over which the Council has no discretion, including, but not limited to, references to any legislative changes and amended guidance. Any material amendments to the policy will be subject to the usual approval process in line with the consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Butler. And would anyone like to speak? Councillor Butler, do you want to speak as well? No.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that.
Excuse me, are you speaking as a postman or as a cabinet member?
As a cabinet member. Just to say that I fully support this. I think it's barbaric that we've not had a policy in place to do this. It's evident on the streets, as you say. In my day-to-day job, I am a postman. and some of the numbering and naming in the area is atrocious at best. So yeah, fully support this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially for the rurality of our borough, you know, those dimly lit or unlit rural streets and roads where houses just have names and no numbers, and they're very difficult to find for the emergency services sometimes. So I think this is really good as well. So if nobody else wants to speak, nobody indicated. All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favour? It's clearly carried. Thank you very much, everyone. And the last item on the agenda is item number 9, the Boston Town Centre Strategy and Action Plan 2023 to 2027. This is our annual review of year 1. You'll find that on page 153 of your agenda pack. And I will ask Councillor Broughton to present and propose the recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The presentation for you this evening is the annual review of the Town Centre Strategy, which after going through scrutiny, BTAC and Cabinet last year was agreed on October the 25th, 2023. We're this evening updating you on progress made over the first 12 months and have 14 slides to help you do this. The opening slide shows what our aim was to increase footfall into the town and make it a vibrant place that residents and visitors want to come and create a sense of pride, something we can definitely see as being achieved here. And again, I'd just like to say some of the tremendous images the residents have put on from this year's Christmas event are absolutely amazing. It shows the town even busier than what it was last year. So obviously residents enjoying what this administration are putting on, the events we're doing, they're seeing the difference we're making to the town, and they're actually coming out and showing us that. So really appreciate that. Brilliant, thank you. Sorry about that. This is the overview we are presenting tonight to tell you about the activity since adoption of the strategy and also anything that the Cabinet would like to consider. Again, this is the area that the strategy covers in red, covering either side of the River Witham, and does actually cover quite a big area. This is the purpose of this review, to remind you of the vision we as an administration have for Boston Town Centre and the objectives we set out along with your feedback and any recommendations you may have tonight. The vision being a Boston Town Centre that brings all communities together, a safe place in which to enjoy our heritage, open spaces and public realm, whilst also supporting a vibrant retail and hospitality experience. Again, this is all in your pack. This is your report out 7 key objectives: clean and tidy, safety, for businesses to thrive, which we obviously have done over the Christmas event, the businesses I spoke to and the traders. Residents and visitors to enjoy events, again, prove successful with Christmas. Heritage and culture, having easy access to and from the town. Build and support a cohesive community, and to work with partners and our excellent volunteer groups we have throughout our town to achieve this. Our action plan had 73 original points, but has increased since to 74 due to this being a live working document, and we're based on 4 themes that can be seen here. Out of the 74 actions, we have already completed 24, with 47 on target and only 3 requiring further work and attention, which as portfolio holder I feel shows the hard work and effort that has gone into this by all our hard working teams and officers in the past 12 months. This is a summary and pictures of the year in images on the screen, starting from the top left with one of the new events in the town, Boston's Strongest and Food Fest, which was very popular and again will be happening in 2025. Our amazing Christmas festival, which drew national TV and radio publicity for all the right reasons, and again this year even outdid last year's. Promoting all of our 5-star rated food businesses, which there are many of, including this month a record 39 being given 5 stars. Cleaning work done by our excellent hard-working BTAC operatives, who I feel deserve great plaudits for the hard and sometimes unpleasant work they do and are mainly unseen, with many starting their days at 5 AM. The example here is on Still Lane. Our community side, including the popular beach event, which attracts all ages over the summer, and promotional work in the town centre. The new car parking meters throughout the town, now accepting card payments as well as cash. Deep cleaning of our marketplace and done by local firm Hydrashine. And of course, our floral displays through the town. This is in partnership with North Sea Camp. The next 4 slides look a bit closer at the 4 thematic areas. This one's clean and safe. These includes the introduction of community rangers who have been very well received in the town. New changing places toilets. New volunteer CCTV spotters. Deep cleaning throughout different areas of the town, as well as PSPO on dog control and wild bird feeding. Open for business includes our growth team giving advice and guidance to businesses. Town centre promotional material, as well as trade stands promoting the town at both Lincolnshire and Heckington shows, as well as a market development plan which has been agreed by Cabinet to improve our long-standing twice weekly market, which is still one of the biggest in the county. We promised Christmas would return on our manifesto, which it did very successfully last year, and this year's event has gone even better with tremendous feedback from residents and businesses alike. Delivering and assisted with external partners events during the year, with new events like the Food Fest, Boston Strongest, Ska and Reggae, as well as the summer events programme in Central Park, including the beach event and also the Boston Big Local final event. Boston Big Local did so much good for the town over the years, and I personally would like to thank them. Also, a development plan for the Guildhall, which is progressing very well under the passionate leadership of Councillor Sharp and her officers, who also informed me that from August to October this year, visitor numbers to the Guildhall are up 24%, which is a testament to both Councillor Sharp and her team's hard work. Finally, transformation, where a new business forum has been developed, which is growing monthly, with new businesses attending and contributing with ideas and feedback. Also, partners have delivered the Dolphin Lane project and progress in place shaping work such as the Rosegarth Square initiative. We're also very aware there is still much work to do, and we are focusing on targeting fly tipping and envirocrime, continuing our deep clean work throughout the town, tackling antisocial behaviour and community safety concerns. We also know there is more place shaping work and transformation to look forward to, as well as activity in relation to the long-term plan for towns. But overall, I feel that the first year we have achieved a great start in steering our town in the right direction with hard work from all our officers and partners. So I therefore recommend for Cabinet to review and comment on the progress made to date as provided in this report and its associated Appendix 1 against the commitments made in the Boston Town Centre Strategy and Action Plan 2023-27 entitled The Town Centre for Everyone, and 2, for the Cabinet to confirm the continuation of the work as set out in Appendix 1 and to confirm the new actions as provided at section 6.4 points A to D of this report are to be incorporated into the Boston Town Centre Strategy and Action Plan 2023-27. Thank you.
And is there a seconder? Yes, Councillor Baxter, thank you very much. Right, would anyone like to comment? Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we listened to Councillor Broughton with this presentation, it makes you feel very proud, really. I want to say, wow, who would believe that all these things could be done in this time? So I would like to thank, well, the people of Boston for supporting us and encouraging us, all the officers involved, but also some of the councillors have been involved within our team. As Boston Independents, we said we would bring Boston, well, Christmas back to Boston, and also through the events that I've attended, these have all gone down really well, and it brings us together as a community. I would just mention as well, for example, we've worked as a team as well. Councillor Welbury organised some of these events as well and took on board these things, I would hope. Well, as a party, we all came together and supported them. It's good to know as well that we don't just sit on our laurels. There's only 3 items requiring mitigation, but isn't it good as well that, we look at the comments from our residents, but also we consider what scrutiny say and things that we're afraid at Cabinet, and we're still looking at things like access for people who are disabled, and very importantly, approaching bus tour operators. So we're looking to the future. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody involved, as somebody who's very proud of Boston. I would hope we could probably learn from these things and take them out as well to our rural areas. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. Councillor Butler?
Just to echo what Councillor Baxter said, Dale, Councillor Broughton, thank you and well done. As a lifelong Bostonian, it's great to see the life starting to return to the town centre. We all know it's not a quick fix, and it's a work in progress, but it is going in the right direction. It's also encouraging that as we work as a cabinet and as a wider council, as Councillor Baxter alluded to, it's showing as well building renovations in the town centre, for example, which fall under Councillor Baxter. I know our planning enforcement officer is, well, we've probably done his head in, for a want of a better phrase, with the amount of issues we've raised, but a lot of them have been rectified and it shows. I would like to raise on page 158 regarding ongoing works. Work continues to make Boston a dementia-friendly town. I think that's fantastic. It's horrible illness. I hate that. Yeah. Can we also look at making Boston more disabled friendly? Having pushed one of my residents round to the mayor's, what's it? I can't remember. The mayor's do at the stump a couple of months ago. I noticed how difficult it is for people in wheelchairs. I don't think you quite appreciate it until you've actually got somebody, or you are in a wheelchair, how difficult it is. I noticed that there's parts of the town where there's no drop curbs and such like, so it must be a nightmare for those that live like that, live in those conditions constantly. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Butler. I know you've raised that matter with us, and you're absolutely spot on. I think the majority of issues that you identified are county council issues because they're on the highway, and all we can do is lobby and ask county council to take that matter seriously. And I know that Councillor Creswell meets with the Disability Forum on our behalf and has established that link. That's really important. Did you want to come in there, Emma?
Yeah, just to say that on page 162, it's noted at 5.3 about the discussions that we had just 10 days ago, and actually it was added into here as one of our items to add to the strategy at 6.4D, that we're going to assess from a disability access perspective in order to seek improvements. And as you said, Councillor Doreen, about the, lobbying the council, Lincolnshire County Council, if it's not something that we can remedy. So it's really lovely to see that we had that discussion and it's been added in. Thank you.
Yeah, that evidence of it being a live document. I think you summed it up really well, Councillor Baxter, that this is a perfect example of having a vision as a group of candidates in the election, having the vision, making a promise to the electorate in our manifesto that we would deliver a town centre strategy within 6 months, and having the public believe in us and trust in us and give us their vote. And when we come into office, we then issue the strategic direction to the Chief Exec and his team and say, that's how we want the town to look. That's the direction of travel for us going forward. And then the officer corps taking that on board and making it happen. And I think that's politics 101. I think we did that really well, but we couldn't have done it without the support of the public in the first place. And I'm really grateful to them for that. So, and thank you to you, John, for your work in this, because I know it was absolutely stupendous what you did. I know you spent hours and hours on it, and I'm very, very grateful to what you delivered on our behalf. Thank you very much.
Can I just add to that? It's very much a team effort across the council, the officer cohort, and indeed the members, and I recognise the contributions by all portfolio holders and you yourself, Leader.
Thank you. So, and wasn't it great to see the town so full on Friday for I just loved it. It's like being a child again. Well done, Dale. Well done to you too, because you've driven it forward, and I know you've had some battles, hard-fought battles with here and there, but you've triumphed. So well done. And I'd like to make a plea to the public that, if you're proud of your town, tell people. If you're happy with something that's gone on or an event that's taken place, tell people, don't sit in silence and let the naysayers dominate the public square on social media. Don't let the keyboard warriors who are full of doom and gloom dominate that platform, you know, and because it drags the town down. And if you're happy with events like the Ska Festival, the Boston Strongest, the Food Festival, the Christmas Festival, if you're proud of that, then give it a thumbs up. Go on and say so, because it matters. It really matters. Right, enough of that. So it's been moved and seconded. We'll take the vote. All those in favour? Clearly carried. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of this evening's business, and I will now close the meeting and thank you all for your attention.